but the word that kept coming to me was like sloppy. It just seemed very sloppy. And that's the only word I can really think of. Like it just seemed like not like a kidnapping. Like ordinarily when you'd see or hear about a kidnapping, it's like, okay, they take somebody. It's usually very planned, organized. If there is some sort of ransom or something like that involved, it's directly like they'd leave a message, a paper, they contact the family, contact somebody and say, hey, we have your person, where we want this or we want that or whatever the case may be. But this just seemed very random. There still seems to be no motive. um just a lot of weird information that is, it's just not, it doesn't seem like a regular situation, a regular kidnapping. Hey y'all, welcome back to the cheat code. Okay, so what we're going to be talking about today is the Nancy Guthrie story. I have a lot of channeled messages, had some notes that I made, just some observations as well, some things I was picking up on intuitively, and I was also guided to pull some cards on the matter as well. So we're going to do that. Before I do, I just want to give a disclaimer that this is for entertainment purposes only. Again, this is based off of my personal intuition, observation, things that I've seen in the news, mainly Fox News. I've been getting majority of the information. And also, yeah, just plain old observation, common sense, just, deductive skills, just using that. So, I approach this situation with sensitivity, of course, but I have a lot of notes, so hopefully I can get through them. I might have to edit this to condense it, or if it just comes a little too jumbled. But I have been guided to pull some cards on the situation as well. So I'm going to put a timestamp if you want to jump forward and just, you know, get to the reading and just get some information that way as well. So let's see. So the first thing I wanted to mention is that her daughter, Savannah, the first time that I saw her face, and I mentioned this in the post that I did about it, her face looked very stoic. It reminded me of Scott Peterson and the Scott Peterson and Lacey Peterson situation that had happened, where his face just had no emotion at all. And it kind of, unfortunately gave me kind of like a guilty kind of feeling. That's just what I was feeling personally about it, intuitively about it. And it was also reminding me of someone else that's not coming to mind at the moment. So let me just go back to the notes. So the family, since I posted the video, the family has been exonerated. So they're not being viewed as any suspects. And also news outlets, police are encouraging not to really look at them in that way because it's a sensitive time for everyone. Like I said, I myself, I feel like there's something more going on. And since then, a lot of posts and things have popped up of people finding the situation and circumstances very suspicious, which I do as well. I find that, oh yeah, there was one point when she was making a plea to, I think it was either the captor or the public. And I found, I'm referring to Savannah, she was looking off to the side and not looking off as if thinking like where you would normally be like, she was kind of just looking this way as if she was like looking at someone. And I felt like she was getting cued by someone with how she was speaking. That's just what I felt, my opinion. Also, let's see what else. Also, it has been said in news clips that when she has been reading these notes that it sounds like when she's, I guess, addressing the public, it sounds as though she's speaking directly to the captor. So almost as if she knows who the captor is. So that's another thing that kind of falls along in line with what I was picking up intuitively, that there's some connection with her and the situation. I think that she knows more than perhaps she's letting on. How involved she is, I guess we'll find out eventually, both in the 3D and in the 5D, we'll say. Yeah, there's also an ex-FBI agent that was being interviewed that said that the whole ordeal seems to be very uncommon. It's not like in common kidnappings that he has seen. And that's what I was feeling as well. For me personally, as I was watching the various clips, the word that kept coming to me, not really intuitively or like as a channeled message, but the word that kept coming to me was like sloppy. It just seemed very sloppy. And that's the only word I can really think of. Like it just seemed like not like a kidnapping. Like ordinarily when you'd see or hear about a kidnapping, it's like, okay, they take somebody. It's usually very planned, organized. If there is some sort of ransom or something like that involved, it's directly like they'd leave a message, a paper, they contact the family, contact somebody and say, hey, we have your person, where, we want this or we want that or whatever the case may be. But this just seemed very random. There still seems to be no motive. Just a lot of weird information it's just not, it doesn't seem like a regular situation, a regular kidnapping. What else? Also, that it took a long time for her kidnapping to be reported. It was said that, and forgive me if I get any information incorrect, anybody that's been watching my spiritual journey knows that, I've been going through a lot of ascension, a lot of spiritual attacks. So I'm trying to fight through all of those symptoms and different things that are happening even as I speak right now. So bear with me. But it was also said that, well, the FBI agent also mentioned that no one mentioned anything about her disappearance until she missed church. So as an elderly person who has health conditions, the fact that no one was checking up on her, didn't hear from her for the whole week was a little odd. And also the fact that it was, I believe, her daughter, Savannah, and her husband that had dropped her off from a dinner visit or something like that at their home. And then it was like within maybe, I think, 2 hours or so, something around that time, that the incident had taken place. I'm feeling very eager just to jump to the end and just get to the point, but I don't know if that's just, yeah, some kind of persuasion or, spirit guides just kind of getting on me like, hurry up. Yeah, so I was noticing that, however this trail of thought led to, but the ring cam footage of the gentleman, one of the gentlemen that was wearing a mask, that when they did the close-up of his face, I kept noticing his eyes, and his eyes looked very strange. It's kind of like, it almost looked like his eyelids weren't his actual eyelids, and it was giving me Leatherface. And Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where someone was wearing somebody else's face, and it was actually creeping me out to the point that whenever they would do like close-ups on it, I was kind of like looking away, because I don't know what that has to do with anything. It could be related to the actual situation at hand, or it could be something completely separate. But if I was trying to connect dots, it could just be that there is, so whoever's under the mask is not who they claim to be. So let's just say if it is a relative or someone that they know, that the person could be somebody that is presenting themselves, whether it be to the public or to their own family, in a way that they don't even know. But I just know that it looked really creepy to me anyway. What else do I have? So Harvey Levin, this is as of the 17th, we're the 18th today. So Harvey Levin had stated that he had received 4 letters from the suspect, and that they were speaking, yeah, he did like a little sit down, and he was speaking directly to the suspect using his social media. I had mentioned in the first video that I did about Harvey Levin that there were some points that I had made that he seems to, some of them were channeled messages and some of them were just observation and what I was getting intuitively, that he seems to know more than what he's letting on. And that seems to be developing now. Also, that the channeled message that I got is that there were more, what was it again? Something about interested parties or parties of interest, that there were multiple. So there were more than one, and he recently confirmed that, as well as the law enforcement has confirmed that. They were saying that there's a lot more DNA or multiple DNA in the home, so that, yeah, it has come to light that there's multiple people involved, as well as with the person. Something that I came to find out, I didn't understand this in the beginning if it was made clear, but that there's the person who was asking for a ransom for information about Nancy Guthrie, and then there are the actual captors. So the person who's communicating with Harvey Levin from TMZ, the person who's communicating with him is the person who's asking for the ransom, and then the person or the people um, who have Nancy Guthrie are separate. So he said that the person who's communicating regarding the ransom has sent 4 separate letters, um, and at one point he was speaking directly to the person, and essentially what I was getting from that is that he has his own personal motives in whatever he's doing. And like as I was saying in the first video, he knows more than what he's letting on. And from some of the clips that I was watching today, again, via Fox News, um, he has been on, again, sharing information. And he seems to know, again, a lot more than what he's letting on by saying that, he doesn't want to tip off the captors by letting people know every time that he gets a letter from the person who's asking for the ransom. I personally am feeling intuitively that the person that's asking for the ransom is connected, because he did say that via the information that was released, that he knows or he saw Nancy with the captors. And I personally feel that it's somebody that is probably connected to the situation and wants to leave the situation and is trying to get money so that they can completely disappear from whoever has them captive, so that um, so that he can be safe. Or yeah, I guess it's a he at this point, they've established, so that he can be safe from those people. Something else was just trying to deliver a message, something else. I was also just channeling something as I was trying to convey that. So if it comes back, I'll mention it. What else did he say? Yeah. Harvey Levin had also said that there's someone that's in charge and that it's a group of people. He also said that he's cooperating with the FBI and giving them information. But what I was channeling a little bit earlier before I did the video was that the messages that I was getting was that there are, because I was trying to figure out why does Harvey have more information than the FBI? And then what was channeled to me was jurisdiction. And I had to just look it up just to see, exactly, because jurisdiction, from my understanding, is just like location, but it has more to do with location. It's actually like, I guess, levels or groups or departments or whatever that just has the authority over something. So it's not like someone can just come in on one level and then, they can just come in on one level and then just kind of overtake. Like, you have to go through the various steps. Like if something is, for example, like a homicide, or if something is I don't know if I'm allowed to say that word, but if something is, and so this is just for educational purposes as much as I can understand, if something is a homicide and versus, let's say, again, like an actual kidnapping or something, then there'd be different departments that would handle that, just like they call SWAT for certain reasons, and then they call, your local police for certain reasons, or even when you call 911, they ask you, if it's an emergency, like if you need, like what kind of help you need. There's just different jurisdictions. So that would be the reason why he's able to kind of, I guess, get information before it gets to the FBI, but he said he's turning things over directly to the FBI. Yeah, so that was just something else I was reading was just part of what I had mentioned, that I feel like the person is a part of the group, but is trying to separate themselves from the group. I'm going to kind of be jumping all over the place because things are coming back to me that I just got before recording, which was that what was it? I just had it. It's coming and going. So I also noted that I feel like Harvey is kind of gatekeeping as an opportunity, for his channel and for TMZ, because TMZ, unfortunately, they're known for like paying people for information and things like that. So I feel like he's kind of gatekeeping information. When I heard about him not providing any more details, or not wanting to provide any more details to the news stations and things like that, he did have a good reason, but he also could be being a little bit fishy about what he's doing, because he had mentioned that the FBI basically has hit a brick wall in terms of trying to find more breaks in the case. But he was talking about contacting local law enforcement, getting information, and then contacting this store, and then contacting this gun shop, and contacting all over the place. It's kind of like he's doing his own little investigation. So I feel like, they have their own personal motives to like break stories. Um, yeah, what I was being reminded of is in the recent past, his connection to Mark Garagos and the case with Diddy, and how I don't remember exactly at this particular moment what the connection was, but they were doing their little, sorry, not little, but they were doing their podcast and kind of having, basically giving insider information that they shouldn't have been giving. So he, I guess you could say, is known for, maybe doing things a little bit, I want to say maybe underhanded, or, maybe not the right way, but he is a lawyer. And, they have a reputation for, they have to defend the guilty and the innocent. So their moral compass kind of swings back and forth, I would say. So some of the newer notes that I made. So this was about 4 hours ago. So I have that, yeah. So what I had mentioned already, that Harvey said that he's not going to be providing any more information about the ransom notes, because he does not want to tip off the kidnappers. And that's where I was saying, oh yeah, okay, so I get what's happening now. I didn't realize it was like two separate groups of people. I don't know why it wasn't making sense other than, what I'm dealing with spiritually. Yeah, also again, confirming that there's multiple people that were involved. The FBI confirmed that the DNA in the home is not just one person, which I think I mentioned. Also, I had noted, my curiosity about why Harvey Levin has a back and forth communication with the person who is, sending the ransom letters. So they said it was by email. So I'm thinking, if you have an email address for this person, like, I don't know, I know you can encrypt a lot of things and do a lot of different things, but why isn't the FBI communicating with him directly, like reaching out to him directly? Again, I don't know how it works in terms of the levels of law enforcement, but if he has a direct communication to someone who says that they have information or knowledge about this person's whereabouts, but they'll only give it if they receive money, why aren't they going directly to that person? He did say he's giving the information over to the FBI, but I'm not too sure how that works. Like, why is he the middleman instead of it just going, like, the person going directly through to the FBI? I mean, the person did say, according to what Harvey had mentioned, that he does have a criminal past and he does not want to, be, I guess, he doesn't want to be involved with law enforcement, but at the same time, it's kind of like that's part of the negotiations that you usually hear about, where people will say, okay, in exchange for this, then that. But it seems like the person just wants money and to either, disappear, or however they're connected, or maybe they're connected and they just want money and they're just trying to get the money. And maybe it might also have something to do with them being relatives and, just wanting the money. It could be that as well. What other bits of information? Okay, so I did mention the channel message about the jurisdiction. Yeah, that there's information that is not passed between entities is what I was saying. There's another word I want to use, but they were insisting on entities. So insisting, meaning my spirit guides. I already mentioned that all the information that TMZ has gotten seems to be more than what the FBI has. There's also an interesting message that I was channeling. I wouldn't really, I don't know if you want to call it channeling, because the way that it came through, but anyway, they're suggesting that perhaps that she might have been eaten by coyotes. And I don't say that with it as a joke, but what they were kind of giving me reference, talking about my spirit guides, what they were kind of referencing was, I was a huge fan of Breaking Bad, and I was just sorting through some clothes, and I have like a Breaking Bad t-shirt, and they were kind of like connecting the dots for me and kind of saying that, because some of the places that were mentioned, I think, was either Mexico or New Mexico. I know New Mexico is related to something with the Epstein situation. They were giving me messages about that as well, which I'll get into in another video. But and Arizona. And in one of the episodes of Breaking Bad called 3 Days Out, they went into the middle of the desert in New Mexico, and they were so far away that they had no cell service. They couldn't obviously get water. They couldn't do anything. They couldn't walk long enough to, get somewhere where they can get help, because their what do you call it? Their RV had broken down. So what they were like showing me was as if she was in the desert because they did the helicopter search, but they're looking. They were the helicopter search, from what I understood through the clips, was that they were looking to try and connect with her pacemaker, that had some kind of tracking device on it, and it also could possibly have been to search for a body, but they wouldn't really do a ground search in like a deserted area. And if obvious not obviously, if she was, let's say, for example, eaten, because it could just be like a metaphor. When you get channeled messages, sometimes you have to like, they might, your spirit guides might be connecting the dots for you, but you also still have to interpret it properly. And sometimes you get like a little nudge of, yeah, that's exactly what we're trying to say to you, and sometimes you don't. And you just kind of have to figure it out for yourself. So I think it could either be literal or it could just be metaphorically. But again, if they're, let's say, for example, her body was discarded and it was eaten, for example, then they're not going to be like, through a helicopter search, you're not going to find bones. You'd have to do like a ground search. And if she is in Arizona, which I think they had a person of interest in Arizona or something like that, and she is out in the desert somewhere, then they're not going to, find her unless they do like an actual sweep. So there's that. Um, yeah, I put remains, bones, um, local ground search, Arizona, New Mexico, have places like that. Yeah, that they're relating it to Breaking Bad. Also, there's something about sulfuric acid, and that again relates to the Epstein thing. I was watching something about that where they had said that prior, I think it was a very old video, but they had said that prior to his arrest or the charges, or after he got charged, that he ordered a bunch of sulfuric acid. And they were looking into it and trying to figure out what would somebody at the last minute need sulfuric acid for. And this is where they were thinking that he might have been disposing of evidence, biological evidence. And that again kind of ties back into Breaking Bad and some other things that I found out that it was actually true that people, I don't know if it's cartel stuff or whatever in Mexico, that they would dissolve bodies and then dig a grave and bury the sludge, so to speak, and then cover it up. So, what does that have to do with anything? I think again, it's just referencing the fact that maybe she is in a state where she cannot be recognized, and that actually makes sense. Maybe she's in a state, like physical state, meaning physical body, or physical state location where she cannot be recognized. One or the other. I personally, like I said, immediately when I saw her, I felt like she's no longer with us, but still hoping for the best. Yeah, the last one was that, I think this is the last one, that I came across a post. I didn't actually watch it, but it popped up on my feed a couple of times, that someone was suggesting that, I don't think this was a news report. It was just someone else like myself, who was just, you know, discussing the matter, and that they suggested that she could potentially be underground. And the thumbnail showed like a basement or like a bunker. And I also channeled that word the other day, bunker, for something else, but that she could be underground in there. I have watched movies and those Lifetime stories and also real life stories where sometimes they're looking for a missing person. They're trying to remind me of the first 48. I used to watch that as well. That usually, I guess they say that, within the first 48 hours, if someone is not found, that the chances of them being found alive are less likely. So, yeah. So they were reminding me of some of the movies and different things that I had watched where someone was actually missing, but they were in the person's basement. There was one movie that was based on a true story where a man was having, he kidnapped his daughter and built, like, he took, I don't know how long, a year or something like that, to build like a whole, basically, home in the basement, and locked it off and covered it and created like a whole separate wall, had a code and everything to get inside. And he basically made a family with his daughter, unfortunately. And they never saw the light of day for, I don't even know how many years. I think it was like 15 years or something like that. Um, and there was another movie that was produced by A24. I can't remember what the movie was. It was another one where a woman was held captive in the basement with her son, and then she taught the son something about how to escape, and was able to escape. What other messages did I get? Yeah, just basically sometimes people being in the basement, being next door, that she could just be closer than people are looking. Like they might not be looking in the obvious place. Like she could be in like a neighboring house in the basement somewhere, or maybe that could be where her remains are, but they're not looking for it there. Um, yeah, those are all the notes that I made for that. So let's see what time we're at here. Oh, 26 minutes. That's a long time. I might have to just edit this down or take out some of the pauses or whatnot. Anyway, so we're going to get into some questions. There were a few questions that were coming to mind myself as I was watching the various clips, but then also asking my spirit guides if, because again, I just want to add my 2 cents here for my own personal reasons that I have been asked to do a lot of things in this stage of my spiritual journey, like doing celebrity readings, doing all kinds of different things that don't really sit well with me. So, I have to kind of sort through that and see how I feel. But they've also been heavily, heavily, heavily trying to get me to do missing persons type of readings for a long, long time. I'm not really too sure why. I don't know if it's a rite of passage. It's a couple messages that I got were initiation and controlled environment and all kinds of things trying to say basically, you know, this is what you're supposed to go through, but it doesn't feel that way because it's extremely painful. But that's for another day. You can check out some of the stories about, the horrors that I've been dealing with on the side. But anyway, just to get to the point. So, two questions that we're going to be looking at least that I got when I was asking for channels, not channel, but what should I be asking for? Essentially, just, I guess, whatever messages come out. But the two questions that I got were, what is the motive? Because that's still something that's missing, like throughout the whole investigation. Like they don't really have a motive. Even the ransom person does not have a motive, and they haven't, from what has been released, they haven't expressed that there's a motive. So there's that as well. And then also whether or not Savannah Guthrie knows more than what she's letting on.